It is that time again, my favorite people. Time for another episode of Chatty. We are ready to go. Hope everyone is enjoying their holiday. Ooh, goodness gracious. Hey Marco, how are you? My girl Caro, ready. Alright, amazing. Girl, we got this. Alright, we are ready.
Yay.
Hello, beautiful friend of mine. How are you?
Good. How are you, Ellie?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for asking. I really am. Have you been up to anything crazy this weekend for the holiday?
I haven't. I've gotten a lot of outdoor time in. Went to the pool twice, so that was amazing, but pretty
Not on your
chill
schedule for
weekend.
today.
Yes. Yes. What about you?
You're not in Maryland, but I was up in Frederick. It's like this historic area about like an hour from me with two of my best friends yesterday. We went hiking into a vineyard and it was really fun. And then today I've just been really hanging out, but getting stuff done, a lot of good things happening. So all good things.
I love it.
Well, I'm so excited to have you. Welcome for everyone that is going to be tuning in this evening to our next episode of Chat E. This is my wonderful friend Caroline, and she has been busy, guys, during this pandemic. So over the course of the next 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to be talking about Caroline, all the amazing things that she's up to, how inspiring she is, and I'm so pumped and excited for you to share your story. So, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, Maria's on to just told us she loves us. Girl, we love you so much.
Oh my gosh, love you.
Favorite human. Wonderful Maria is the one that connected us, so
Yes.
excited. Okay, so Carol, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of share with our audience what you are all about and what you got going on?
For sure. Well, thank you again, Ellie, for having me. I'm Caroline Caruso. So I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia right now, but I quit my accounting job last year and became kind of a digital nomad. And then with Corona, I came back home to Atlanta from Colombia and started a business kind of by accident. So we're just here to talk about that tonight.
Yes, I'm so excited. So I think I want to dive into, no, we'll hold off on that actually a little bit. So let's kind of start off with you kind of explaining, you just said that you started a new business and you didn't even plan on it, right? That's the cool part of this virus and everything that's been happening, us having so much more time to focus on ourselves and really figure out what we want. So can you tell us kind of like what you've been up to and what your business is exactly?
For sure. Yeah. So I definitely did the groundwork before the pandemic even started. But with the business, I became a yin yoga teacher last year. And so I started teaching yin yoga. And then that just turned into cacao ceremonies on Zoom. And then I launched my first group coaching program about organization this summer. And that turned into one-on-one coaching for businesses. So I really help spiritual creatives find their best life, their best path, whether that be career or personal values, just really finding home in themselves.
This girl is on fire. So a lot of the stuff that you work on is based around like holistic health. Is that correct? Like a lot of those things, or?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm really passionate about being trauma informed. So I've taken a few classes on that. Yin yoga is very like somatics based, very healing. I'm super into like alternative medicine and everything.
That's wonderful. I'm definitely going to have to talk to you additionally about some of that stuff. I feel like that's something I've been really trying to learn more about, but don't really know much about. So in regards to the yoga, and Maria tried to explain this to me, the cacao, whatever you just said.
Yeah, cacao.
Can you explain to me what that is, or like to our audience? Because I don't know if everyone knows what that is either.
For sure. Like cacao is just awesome. It's basically fancy hot chocolate, but it's from like Mesoamerica, so like Central South America. And it's a huge heart opener. It's great for antioxidants. So it tastes like liquid chocolate. So ceremonial cacao is just like ethically sourced cacao that you get in chunks or you get in a block and you just melt it down with some like milk, nut milk, and drink it in ceremony.
So can you just like buy that at the store?
Yeah, so great question. You usually buy it online. I like Cacao King, and I actually have a discount code if anyone wants it.
I
Yeah,
do.
just Caro10. And yeah, like cacao is just, it's so great for you. And it's like a really great practice to get into, just like a mindful activity to drink the cacao and gather with other people.
Sure, no, absolutely. I would be totally interested in participating in something like that in one of the ceremonies, and I guarantee you a bunch of other people would be too. I will, at the end of our talk, I will add like your promo code and all your information at the bottom so that everyone can be in touch if they missed anything.
Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. So that's so cool. So let's just dive into a little deeper your background kind of to explain what's gotten you to where you are now, and then we'll dive deeper into more of what you're doing right now. Okay, so you don't work for corporate America anymore.
No, so I did. I worked at KPMG, one of the big four, then a tech startup for 4 years total, and then I quit last year. So I kind of did the traditional route. I grew up in Atlanta, went to school at University of Georgia, got my master's in accounting, got my CPA, and then worked for corporate America and just was never really satisfied. So I did a lot of the self-help stuff starting in college, so back in like 2013. So I think like if you want to be a business owner, definitely do the inner work and like don't ignore that inner calling. Like if there's something more, chase that.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. And I think that there's so many people that are in that position. I found myself in that position during quarantine too, and I've been working on a lot of ventures of my own. And it definitely takes a lot though to give yourself the courage to start something, but then to meet people like you and other people that are going to motivate you and have already like started their success story to like motivate you to kind of figure out your next step is the best, you know. So that's awesome. So after you decided no more accounting, don't want this anymore, and so you transitioned into starting a business right away, or what happened after you quit your job?
Yeah, so literally a year ago, I flew to London with no plan, quit my job like the day before, and just, yeah, traveled and had no clue what I wanted to do. And I had a lot of pressure on myself. I tried to just say, like, I'm going to take this time in Europe. I had 5 weeks and a friend's wedding. And so I was like, I'm just going to live this up and then I'll figure it out after. And so after traveling Europe, I thought I wanted to start a business, but I just didn't, it didn't feel right. And so I decided to keep traveling more. And so I ended up in South and Central America in 2020. So I traveled around there for 3 months. So I never had a plan to change jobs. I found a freelancing gig while traveling and just like loved that simple life. So yeah, the business just kind of came naturally because like I was honestly just so bored in quarantine and I did not want a real job.
No, yeah, for sure. And now is the best time, seriously, to dive in, find yourself in the best way and in all ways, and then really figure out what you want. So that's amazing. I really like your glasses, by the way. They're very cute.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's so cool. So, of all the places that you traveled, what was your favorite and why?
I loved Portugal because I'm a beach girl and there's so many digital nomads. You would love it. Like you get so inspired. I know you love meeting people and Portugal was such like a backpacker scene where every hostel you go to, you make like 15 friends.
That's so cool. I went to Portugal briefly. I went with two friends for like a short weekend, like 3 days, and it was wonderful. It's probably one of my favorite places that I went to in Europe overall. But I need to go back like as soon as like all of this is over to Europe in general and just explore like you did. I think that's so cool, and it's a completely different experience because when I was there, I only had like the weekends because I worked, you know. So wonderful, but completely different when you have time to kind of like meet people, enjoy it, and just like flow with it. But it's amazing. And it was rainy too. So beautiful. One of my favorite places, but it was rainy, so I need to go back immediately. That's awesome. The digital nomads too. So how, when you were in the hostels or like in different places, you just get to talking to people and then you realize that like you guys are all doing the same thing? Do you think that some of the people you met kind of inspired you to jump into this over your travels, throughout your travels?
Yeah, it definitely, I feel like I went to Mexico on a prior trip while in corporate America, and that like triggered me to want to work and like travel. And I felt like in Portugal, a lot of Germans were traveling, and so they have school off in October for some reason. So they were kind of just down to like travel, whatever. And so, yeah, I kind of would just like piggyback on some people's plans and then just meet up with some friends too, or like friends'
Sure.
friends.
That's so fun. Yeah, I miss it so much. That's so cool. And were you backpacking? Was that kind of like your means of like how you were traveling around?
Yeah, so I had a 40-liter backpack and that was it. My Chacos, Allbirds.
No, that's awesome. And there's so many people that want to be able to do what you did, you know, like so many people, but it's scary. So like good for you. That is so amazing and seriously so scary.
Yeah,
So,
it is scary. And I think people, that's why they don't do it, because it is scary to get out of our comfort zone. But
sure.
it's just so worth traveling alone. I'm a big believer in solo travel to really find
Me too,
what you
for
love.
sure. So for women especially too, for solo traveling, I know can be intimidating for anyone, but I know for women, I listen to a lot of these podcasts now of like van life, and I think it's so sick, like hopeful future for something like that, like so cool. So for anyone that wants to, you know, when all this pandemic stuff is over and wants to just like, you know, quit their day job and venture out and do something cool like that, do you have any tips or any suggestions on, I don't know, maybe like a safety tip or even just like how to prepare yourself and be a little more comfortable? Because, you know, there's certain personalities for sure that are more willing to kind of go for it, but there's so many people that want to, and everyone can. Everyone listening, everyone know you can. You just kind of got to believe in yourself. So do you have any tips in regards to that and kind of taking that chance and then where you go from there?
Yeah, for sure. The biggest safety tip is travel during the day. I do think bad things happen at night. And if I was totally alone, like I really wouldn't try to do anything at night, but just take a risk, you know, go at it at your own risk. And then for quitting and traveling, I think a big thing is obviously save your money. So like I
You're
help,
ready for it.
yeah, I help my clients like budget that cash flow, but that's crucial.
Sure.
And just really like knowing that your options are endless. It's so easy to make money. That's like another thing I tell people is like it's not hard to make money. You just have to be strategic about it. So you can quit and travel no problem.
Right, right. And that's the thing too. I feel like when traveling, you also just have to, the money should never be the issue. Like that should never be the reason to stop you from doing anything. Just because you can always make it back. Like there's always a way to make money. And I'm like the kind of person that I assume you kind of are too, but let's say you see something on the menu and you're like, oop, there's no, like you really want it, but like there's no price. So, you know, it's probably a little more expensive, but I'm not the type of person that would ask because it's just like about the experience. I want it, so I get it. And, you know, with the mentality that you can make it back, there's always money to come. So just experience it to the fullest. And I feel like you're probably like that too. But I feel like that's a really big lesson to learn.
It is, yeah, like you're worth it for sure. And I think know where you want to spend your money on. Like if you want to go ball out on food, like that's okay. Just pick and choose where you want to allocate your money, I think is super smart too.
That's more like a within the country thing when we're not traveling type thing. So versus like a different country. That's more so like a quarantine thing when we can actually go out to eat. Okay, awesome. So I guess you touched on this briefly, but what kind of like, I don't know if I asked you this, what got you started in your field? I guess you said kind of like where you transitioned, but what really got you to where you are right now?
Yeah, great question. So honestly, I feel like yin yoga sparked my business because that was my first offering and putting myself out there. And it's scary. Like did you teach abroad, Ellie, or were you going to?
I was
Like,
teaching English for like 8 months, or I guess I did for the whole year for the most part. It's just transitioned virtually, but yeah.
Yeah, when you transition to that teacher role, it's a big step and it's uncomfortable, but
For sure.
it's a great learning lesson. So I loved yin. It opened me up energetically, emotionally, like got me into the body, made me really passionate about like trauma recovery and just holistic health. So I don't know, like honestly, yin, like
what does that mean?
Yeah. So you know the yin and yang, it's basically like the opposite forces. So yin energy is like really receptive, flowy. Yang is more active, like hot yoga.
I like
Just
hot
like
yoga.
yeah. So yin, you're basically stretching. You're just holding poses. And then yeah, with like basically my business coaching stuff and my group coaching, it came from just my corporate experience knowing how to get organized. And I think when you want to quit your job and start a business, you need to be pretty strategic.
Yeah.
And that was key to that corporate experience.
That's super cool. I have only really done hot yoga, but it's like I'm not very good at the breathing or the flexibility, so I definitely need to keep practicing.
You should come to yin. I say, like, everybody's pose is different. It's not about alignment, really. So there's no real competition, and it's on Zoom. So you'll see me and the other squares, but it's no deal what you look like.
So when are these classes? So you're teaching yin yoga now?
Yep, I teach every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on Zoom, and it's donation based. So it's really fun. I make like a Spotify playlist and try to tell some stories throughout the poses to let the stretching feel easier.
Sure. I think yoga is like, I think most people end up liking it when they really like dive in and try it, but I think it is kind of intimidating sometimes because there are people that are so good at it, or you know, you were just saying it's kind of your own thing, but there are some people that just have they're just ready and they got it, and then it can be challenging, I feel like.
Right. No, I feel you.
I've tried. It's fun. I like it, especially the hot yoga. I really enjoyed that a lot. But
yes,
but it does get really hot in there. Don't eat before you go to those classes. If anyone ever tries it, did that and it was not good.
Right. Yeah. Not a good combo.
Not at all. So, what motivates you to work your hardest every day, especially when you just started something new? What kind of pushes you to continue when things get hard?
Yeah, I love this question because I think it's really important to have that bigger why. And a huge thing is my values. Like, I really value freedom, growth, adventure, and just having that, like, drive me. Cacao, my community, my clients, like, always having to show up every day. It's, you know, it forces you to be motivated. But I will say I'm pretty into like the anti-grind culture, and I'm a projector in human design, so we're built to work like 4 hours a day. So I try not to work too hard or I will burn out.
But that's good that you know that of yourself, because that's definitely not an easy thing, I don't feel like, to acknowledge.
Yeah, for sure.
I've never even heard of that before.
You should look into human design. So it's basically like astrology mixed with Kabbalah, with like these downloads this guy got. And so people have like 5 energetic blueprints, and our world is really like based off like one energetic blueprint called manifesting generators. So it's cool because if you learn like the different types, it's just so validating. It's one of those things where you're just like, oh my God, yes,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like your enneagram. Like, it's like just another explanation of like your personality and like who you are. That's cool. I've never heard of that. I'm over here taking notes. If I'm ever not looking at you, I'm writing things down.
Oh, you're fine.
That's super cool. I've literally never heard of that. Do you know if there's like a quiz or anything? I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but do you know if there's like a quiz or something to kind of figure out your human design?
Yeah, you just go to like, it's IHD school, and you just put your birthday and your birth location, basically like a horoscope info, all the dirty deets, and then it tells you. So it's easy.
What did you say it was? IH?
Yeah, I believe it's called IHD school. If you just type in like free human design quiz, it pops up as one of the top searches.
I'm going to put this underneath the chat because I feel like this could be beneficial and pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to take it tonight too. And then that's cool. And then you also said that you have to remember your why. So I know like most businesses, like new businesses, explain like, what is your why? Can you explain to people what it means to have a why, or what does that mean?
Yeah. So your why is just like the big picture. So it could be as simple as like, my why is my children or my family.
Right.
I like to have just kind of like a phrase similar to an affirmation, where it's just like, my why is to get deep with people and authentically connect them to themselves. Something like that. And I really like having a business plan on a Google Doc, so you can always update this. And I think it's important to go back to your why, like what is driving you, and it's okay if that changes.
Sure. And it's going to all the time. That's the thing too. But the whole point is like, your why is intended to keep you motivated. And so if your why is not motivating you anymore, then it's time to change it a little bit.
Exactly.
Did you use, I still need to do this for all the stuff I'm doing, but I'm so scatterbrained all the time. Did you use a template to create a business plan? Because I feel like that's huge. And like for a lot of people, like learning visually is really important, you know, and having that in front of you. But it also takes a lot of time, especially if you like there's a lot of different things that come into starting a business, especially if you want it to be successful. So did you use a template? Did you come up with your own, or how did you go about creating a business plan?
Yeah, exactly. So I took a few courses, and so I like to have a simple business plan. Typically, it's like made for the banks to get a loan or something. It's 30 pages long, detailing like your competition and your whole business, the summary.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure.
so I just basically took the best things from my coaches, and then I took a lot of like MBA courses in college for my
Okay.
master's in accounting. So kind of just like all the pieces I know. And
Sure.
then that's something I do with my clients too, is we create a business plan, because it's not always fun, like sitting down and
No.
summarizing things about your business.
Or staying motivated to do it, because it is like a lot of detail. So you can definitely break it down. But like, even if you gave yourself honestly like 2 weeks to really think through everything, I feel like that's not like an overnight thing. Oh, it's not.
Yeah. And another thing too is like, I know you like tips and tricks for your audience. Like, do your market research first and then your business plan, because market research, it's like reaching out to your community, asking what they want.
Sure.
And so like essentially you're kind of doing market research now, Ellie, like you're having different chats with people, seeing what's engaged. And so then you get a feel of like, okay, what does my audience want?
Right.
Then do like a beta client and then do a business plan, because sometimes like it's not worth putting in the time if this business isn't viable, it won't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, or if no one's like tuning in or interested. And you definitely know when people are and when they're not.
Yeah, for sure.
You definitely catch on. So no, that's cool. Literally, Caroline, I'm learning so much. It's good. I'm like seriously taking all kinds of notes. Okay, so what are your goals with everything that you're working on? I guess actually before we get to that, do you want to, and you don't have to, but do you want to kind of like explain a little more in depth like the services that you provide and kind of like the things that you are doing, or do you feel like you kind of addressed that enough?
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about my offerings. So right now I'm really focused on helping online businesses launch. So for someone who's in corporate or just quit, like really getting an internet business started where you're getting clients from Instagram, word of mouth, and you're location independent and just want financial freedom.
Yeah.
And it's aligned with your soul. Like a huge thing with me is like the spiritual stuff and the soul, like that joy of life mixed with the practical accounting, whatever. So my offering is like the one-on-one coaching for that. So business coaching, and then yin yoga every week, cacao ceremonies every month. And I also do death doula work. So I do grief support, and I do kind of like struggle. It's like, oh my gosh, I have so much going on. So that's a huge goal of this fall, is I'm working with a business coach to really make sure I'm clear with my offering, and maybe I'll like break out and have like business coaching and then more of the self-help stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's amazing. I recently talked to a friend about that because there's always so many things, and then you like come up with something else and you add on, but it's all about just like kind of having that overall umbrella and like having your brand, and then everything just falls into place underneath. So that's super cool. I didn't know about the grief counseling. That's cool too. So how did you get into that? I didn't know that was an additional portion.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome, and something a lot of people need.
it really changed my life. I just took the death doula training in April of this year due to COVID. I've always loved talking about grief, and I told someone this traveling, and they told me, "Have you heard about a death doula?" And I was like, "I know a birth doula, but what are you talking about?" And so death doula helps with like the planning process, so like all the legal stuff or making
once someone passes away.
Yeah, like when they know like they have a diagnosis, or even if they're like they just are aware of death. It's becoming more common now to be death positive. And then a doula can also help with the active dying stage. So being at the bedside with the family, helping, like, vibing out the room. And then the third piece of death doula work is grief support. So after I learned like those three phases, I just really felt called to grief. And so I go on Zoom with people and just hold space for them for 45 minutes, just talk about whatever, ask them how their body feels. And no one usually makes the time to talk about that grief process.
No. That's super sick. I've never heard of anything like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not personally very good with dealing with things like that. I've been lucky for sure. I haven't ever lost anyone super close to me, so I haven't experienced that yet. But when I think about it, we're like, have lost people, just no one like super, super immediate. But it's hard, and I'm not good with processing that. So I think that would be beneficial for me when that happens. And I think for so many people, that's cool. I've never heard of that before.
Good.
Bro, you're full of so many things. And so do you have a specific date each month that you do the cacao ceremony? Or
I usually do it like the 3rd or 4th week of every month. So in September, it should be around like the fall equinox. So like September 21st.
Okay. But you don't have that. That's not a definite date, or it is?
I haven't set it yet. I usually do all on my Instagram. I'll post all about it, but I'll hit you up when I have the date.
Sure. I want to do it. That sounds cool. Okay. And then we'll order the chocolate. All right. My mom will probably want to do it too.
Yes.
Super cool. Okay. Awesome. So in regards to all of the amazing things that you have going on, what are your goals for your future? Like what do you want to amount to through all the things that you're doing? Who do you want to like impact, or like you get what I'm saying? Like what demographic?
Yeah, for
what
sure.
Group of people?
Well, I have a lot of goals because I kind of operate that way. So
Sure. Yeah, me too.
the most fun one is I'm moving. So I'm moving in a month to Las Vegas, which everyone's just like, what? Las Vegas? I have family there and I'm like a sun person. So for winter, I wanted a nice place to be and I'm just craving my own space. So that's like the big goal. And that's happening in October, which is coming closer and closer every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know that either. So cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to have your own place in Vegas?
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll get like a 1-bedroom, which will be nice. That's the plan.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then other than that, like that's more like personal. I really just want to build the business coaching side of my business. That's like the thing that I want to concentrate on because yin yoga is just like rocking and rolling. We have the same day every week. And start a podcast. That's like the other big goal. And I really want to shift more into intimacy and taboo topics. So every Thursday I do Taboo Thursday on my Instagram. And I love just like death, money, sex, like drugs, like let's talk about it all. So yeah, that's the big goal.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm actually transitioning. I don't know if you saw, but I'm transitioning. We talked about this, but Chatty's going to be a podcast also as of October 7th. So
hell yeah.
So I have a lot of work to do, but I have like quite a few people lined up to do interviews with, but I'm still going to do, just so everybody knows. So I think either the 1st and 3rd or the 2nd and 4th month or Sunday of the month, I'm still going to do these live chats just because I think it's fun and interactive. But then also every week there will be an episode where on like a podcast, and there will be some different stuff on the podcast that we don't talk about here though too. So very exciting. And I actually got that idea from you because I was like, podcast will come down the line, but I was like, okay, well, I've already started something and it's like doing well, so it would be fun.
Fuck yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, so super pumped about that. But good for you. That's so cool. Do you know what part of Vegas you're going to move to? Have you already like found a spot and everything?
I have not found a spot. Probably not on the Strip, so not the movies and stuff, but I haven't found any place yet. I'm planning on staying with family first and then apartment hunting.
No, for sure. That's smart. My brother's girlfriend was just there, and it's beautiful.
Cool.
Very, very pretty. All right. Okay, goals for the future. So I guess you kind of already shared about your projects during quarantine. We kind of talked about that. So for anyone that is like an upcoming entrepreneur or like, someone who doesn't think that they can, do you have any tips that you could give them on their future?
Yeah. I think if you want to be an entrepreneur, like, know it's possible, you totally can do it, and try to embody the medicine you want to give the world. So it's like, if I'm a yin yoga teacher, I need to act in integrity with that and like whatever that feels for me with everything. Like, it can't be a huge bitch to my family all the time and ignore them, like I need to act in alignment. So I think any place you're at, you can do that. Embody the medicine you want. And then the second thing is market research, kind of like we talked about before. That's so critical if you want to start a business. And then I think the third biggest thing is know that entrepreneurship requires reflection and you pivot. So I think it's easy first when you start to just always do things the same way. And you want to
said
make
don't
sure
always do it the same way, or do?
don't. Yeah. So I would say like try something. And if it doesn't work out, or, like question does this make sense? And then
Right.
change it. So like an example for me was I started my coaching with 1 month commitments. And then I started working with a business coach and she was like, why don't you have like 3 month containers? And I just said, oh, that's what the first client wanted was 1 month. So like, that's just how I do
Sure.
it.
Sure.
So I think that's the beauty of small business is you can pivot. So make sure you're taking this time. Like if you don't have a lot of clients, like reflect, journal, get quiet, and then create from that place of being informed.
No, I think that's awesome. And things are going to change all the time. You're going to grow and you're going to learn. I just had something important I wanted to ask and I don't remember what it was. No, but I think that's awesome. And I think that, there are a lot of different people that are business coaches, but you bring like a whole new approach, and it's like very cool because like I've probably learned 6 new things about you and about life, not even just about you, but like about life that I didn't even know were a thing. Like didn't know about human design, didn't know about the melting the chocolate, lots of things. Didn't really know what yin yoga was. So that's super cool because like I said, it's competitive. Like business coaching and different stuff, this stuff is competitive. So it's very awesome that you're bringing like your own approach and it's very you. And it's like you can tell it's very authentic, which is so important. So what would you say are like some of the biggest challenges with starting a business, whether it be during the pandemic or just in general?
Yeah, I would say for me, self-care was the biggest edge, I like to call it, of like, what's the edge? And so self-care, making time for that. And then the second was not reflecting. I gave that advice, make sure you reflect, because I didn't take it. I learned from that. I think I got really caught up in just doing things. And I think it's really important to not burn yourself out and make it sustainable. Like this is not a race, it's a marathon.
Sure. No, that's good. And that's great. And I also think that you said earlier, like the money will come, or like it's not really, if someone is super money hungry and like gets really discouraged if like they're not making what they want to make in a week, it can like stop them completely. They're just over it, And
sure.
I feel like I've been in that position too. I'm like, why is not even about money, but like, why is this not working? And I'm like, why are they, and I've talked about this on other chat E's, but like comparing yourself to the success of other people, it's very hard not to do that. But then I look back, I'm like, oh, how long have they been on YouTube? How long have they been like on van life? Like, doing different things. And it's like, most of them at minimum, like 2 years, a year or two. You know what I mean? It's not like they started yesterday. So the only difference is that they already did it, like that they started. I'm so sorry. I tried to turn the volume off my computer.
No, exactly. I really like this Skinny Confidential podcast for business advice, and just like you'd love it. It's a couple and they're so funny and they talk about everything. It'll be like business and then the time they tripped on mushrooms and then like pregnancy. You learn so much.
Right.
And they have an episode about launch fast or don't launch at all. And it's just like, do the thing, throw the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. Like, and there's the balance of like planning and then just doing it. And I think that's an art you learn.
Throw the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. Dang, let's go.
That's not my metaphor, but it's a good one.
That's deep. That's like you get a tattoo type deep.
Right.
That's crazy. Because the thing is, too, is like, we'll talk about spaghetti and noodles, but, you throw something, whatever, but it might not work out, but it doesn't mean that specific idea is not going to happen. Like, it doesn't mean that, like, what you're presenting is not an option. You just might have to transition, pivot, like you said, and it's just not going to happen that way.
Exactly.
Dang, that's very deep. Wow. Dang. Love that. Love that. Oh my gosh. So if you said it's called Skinny Confidential?
Yeah, the Skinny Confidential podcast.
I like that.
And I also have more advice for the people who are maybe in college still or they're in corporate. They don't necessarily want to start a business yet.
Yeah, please.
I think a huge thing is like you are your own guru.
For sure.
And that means like no one's going to have all the answers. You can't go to like a healer or teacher, and if they claim to have all the answers, be like weary, I think. Because you shouldn't outsource your power to anybody, and just know that like it's inside of you, and it's about getting quiet with yourself and taking that time to really reflect on what you want.
Taking more notes, girlfriend.
You're good. And the 4-Hour Work Week is a great book for people who are not ready to quit, just like want some journal exercises, and it's all about how you can be time free and so not work all of the time and location independent, how to run like a sustainable business. It's really great.
So in regards to journaling, I've tried personally, but maybe it's just like my attention span, but I'm not good at being consistent with it. So have you found, and I've heard so many people that are successful, and so many people in general, even who are like working to build themselves up, like journaling is one of the ways that they, get things out. And that's like one of the strategies almost everyone shares about. Do you have like a way you go about journaling? Do you have a specific journal that you use, or a time of day that you do it, or how do you go about that?
For sure. I hear this a lot, how journaling is hard to be consistent. And I recommend if you're on the go, get a little journal and bring it with you. And I would love to journal on buses or trains when I'm traveling. But in the current day, if you're more at home,
Right.
I recommend picking a time either right when you wake up or at night to journal, because it's just easier for your brain when you're in those two states, before sleeping or after.
Mm-hmm.
And I also recommend bullet journaling. So there's the fancy bullet journaling where it's like beautiful, but I just mean like have bullets kind of like in your journal. Like you're not writing paragraphs here, just have short phrases.
Yeah.
So I tend to do that. Like I'll just talk about like what's bothering me, my feelings, like what happened that day.
Yeah.
Journal whatever.
Sure. With bullet journaling, I know what the fancy ones are. Some of them are super cute, but they definitely take a little while to make them. I've tried it before, but then I still wasn't consistent. I made it and it looked super pretty because I saw someone else do it and then I forgot, so I didn't use it. Can you explain that again? So you literally just bullet stuff instead of writing a whole paragraph?
Yeah, exactly. So
I'll just
say, yeah, like what I'm grateful for or things that are bothering me. I do a lot of journaling with ex-boyfriends because I tend to like never get over anybody. So I'll be like, what are the lessons I learned from this person? What were their good traits? What were their shadows? Like, what is that triggering in me?
Right. That's
just
good
asking questions. Yes.
And I think it's also like, it's really hard to find things within you that like are negative sometimes, or like criticizing, or like constructive criticism is hard for a lot of people, for everyone. I feel like hearing about your flaws, it stinks, or like acknowledging them, but I feel like you can only really dive deep enough and like deeper with yourself once you take the time to do that. And I feel like journaling is a great way to kind of like reflect and do that, because that self-awareness will, if you're not aware of things that about yourself and like the kind of people that you want to surround yourself with and things of that sort, then I feel like going into the future it can be kind of difficult.
100%. I have another book about shadow work if you ever want it.
Yeah, girl, seriously, I will take, I'm going to ask you, I wrote a lot of things down, but I might ask you to type some of the stuff for me to put underneath. But I think any recommendations that you have, because the whole point of like what you do too is to benefit people with their wellness and their health, and just being the best version of their self in a holistic way. And I think it's so awesome, so cool. What would you say in regards to, we know each other, like, but not super, super well at this point, not yet. But would you say that, I'm assuming you're more extroverted, but would you say you're more introverted or extroverted, or like a combination of the two?
Yeah, I'm extroverted. I'm the campaigner in Myers-Briggs, like an ENFJ, I think. ENFP. I always forget.
I think it's ENFJ.
Okay.
I have to do mine again, but yeah.
Extroverted. I like humans.
What'd you say?
I said I like humans, so extroverted.
No, me too. Big time. But I think, I don't remember which one I am. I don't know what the options are, but I have to do that one again too. I feel like this quizzes actually teach you so much about yourself, and it's kind of sometimes crazy to think how spot on they are, because sometimes they tell you about your flaws, but
right.
they're good. What would you say about, or just like any tips on surrounding yourself with like-minded people, or how do you find a way to connect with like-minded people? Maybe we can start some kind of chat. There's been a lot of women that have been on Chat E so far, and I've met a lot of young women who are like entrepreneurs. So even just like creating a group chat or some kind of small program to motivate and encourage. I know there's a lot of programs like that, but a lot of them are really expensive and stuff to join. But I think it's super cool that just like having that support right now.
For sure. I think finding like-minded people is important. And a huge thing I love is sobriety, like taking like a week off drinking or whatever substance you like, and or take it a few months. And I've done that in quarantine. I've had alcohol once in the past 6 months. So yeah, you'll really figure out who gives you energy when you're completely sober. And I don't think it has to be a permanent thing at all.
Sure.
But also just like keeping in mind the 5 people that you hang out around is like, the sum of you. And I think when you think about it that way, you're like, okay, do I really want to date this person or hang out with this friend?
Yeah. And I feel like the more, especially for extroverted people too, because we encounter so many people because we thrive off of it, the more people that we come in contact with and that we encounter, the more as we get older, we know what we want around us and like the types of people we want to have around us and the people that don't. Bless you.
Exactly. Thank you.
You're welcome. As well as the people, like you said, that we date and all of that going forward. We start to see the red flags and then we start to see what you want. So, I mean, I think, and it's really hard because I think picking and choosing the people that you want to surround yourself with is hard, because it doesn't mean because certain people can't be in your close circle that you don't like them, But I think sometimes it is kind of hard to pick and choose.
100%. But I think boundaries are important, and energetic boundaries. I'm sure you've noticed even on Zoom, you can feel someone's energy through the screen, and you have to take care of yourself.
Oh my gosh, you do. And if I've been told this so many times, but like if we're not like looking out for ourselves, or if who else is going to do it? Other people can tell you whatever they want to and like encourage you, but if you're not the one taking action and doing anything about it, then like nothing's gonna happen.
For real.
For real. Well, I'm gonna be completely honest because I'm still pretty new at this, but this has been the most great conversation. The most great conversation. That was a wonderful sentence. No, but I just feel like I'm getting the hang of it, and you are good at this too. But I think that you are so informative. You have so many awesome things going on. And like I said, I learned so much from you. But do you have anything additional that you'd like to share?
I think just really like follow your heart and be still, listen to yourself. Just don't give up on your dream. I think it's so important to advocate for ourselves, like you mentioned.
100%. Yeah. Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard, yeah, it takes consistency.
Yeah, no, it does. It definitely does. And if you give up on your dream, then how can other people believe in it? You're the only one that's going to get you there.
Right.
And we all have the opportunity to be successful, but we got to believe that we can. And it's hard. It's super hard.
It's a wild ride. Like life is a wild ride.
Yeah, but it's so exciting. And like, as much as we try and plan it, it's not going to go our way. So, yeah. Well, Caroline, thank you so much for this. This was so great and so informative and wonderful. And, I guarantee you're going to have multiple new yoga members. I will be there this week. I can actually make it, so I'm excited. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind like sending me, I'll send you a picture of everything that I wrote down so you don't remember a little list, but if you could kind of like link a couple things so I can share it underneath our chat. And yeah, we'll tag your Instagram and everything so people can check you out. And I wish you the absolute best. I'm so glad that we've been able to connect, and I'm so excited for your future and all that you have going on. Thank you, Ellie. It was a joy being on here with you, and you're great at interviewing. So, oh, girl, thank you. That means so much. It's fun because it just flows, and then it just like it becomes natural, and then I actually become curious. I actually want to know the answer to the questions. It does flow. It's great. That's good. All right. Well, thank you so much again, and we'll be in touch very soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Talk to you later.